berwenang seperti itu. Itu sih. Next slide, Pak. Oke. Nah, ini iya, untuk operation burden dan juga next slide, Pak, ya. Oke, untuk operation burden dan new frontier, jadi untuk yang poin nomor 8 ini resiko orang dalam atau insider risk. Nah, insiders ini jadi kan kita suka underestimate gitu ya, kita anggap mungkin musuh dalam selimut ini nggak penting. Padahal sebenarnya ancaman yang paling berbahaya itu adalah orang-orang yang sudah memiliki akses gitu. Jadi kita sering investasi untuk menahan peretas dari luar gitu kan, kita jaga ini gitu kan. Tapi kita juga mengabaikan resiko dari mereka yang sudah memiliki kunci pintu gitu. Nah, resiko ini nggak cuman kayak upaya mengenai kayak niat yang jahat atau malicious gitu kan. Tapi kadang yang kejadian itu misalnya karena kecerobohan atau accident. Jadi nggak ada niat jahat tapi tetap aja kan datanya bocor gitu kan. Nah, jadi sebenarnya yang penting itu jadi investasi di teknologi itu juga harus dibarengi dengan adanya governance yang kuat gitu kan. Jadi misalnya di bawah regulasi untuk align sama undang-undang PDP gitu ya. Kelalaian karyawan itu yang menyebabkan kebocoran data itu tetap juga jadi tanggung jawabnya direksi gitu kan. Nah, jadi kita itu butuh sistem yang gak hanya memantau orang dari luar, tapi juga bisa memitigasi kesalahan manusia yang ada di dalam seperti itu. Nah, kemudian di poin nomor 9 ini kan overwhelm teams gitu ya. Jadi kelelahan dari tim keamanan gitu ya. Nah, di sini kita lihat bahwa kompleksitas alat menciptakan inefisiensi dari sisi biaya dan juga resiko yang tinggi gitu kan. Nah, tadi kan kita udah bahas nih terlalu banyak alat-alat yang digunakan. Jadi ada 30 sampai 70 produk lah ya. Jadi itu kan ada menghasilkan banyak notifikasi atau alert gitu kan ya. Nah, ini juga bikin kita jadi kayak merasakan alert fatigue sebenarnya. Jadi ancaman nyata itu sebenarnya sering kita abaikan. Bencana besar itu untuk menghentikan data tidak keluar. Nah, ini yang kita sebut sebagai anti-Data-Exfiltration. Nah, jadi ini kita lihat sebagai standar baru dari keamanan siber. Jadi kalau misalnya kita mengunci data kita supaya nggak bisa keluar, maka penyerang itu juga akan kehilangan daya tawar gitu kan. Nah, jadi ransomware itu juga nggak bisa berdaya lagi nih, karena nggak ada data yang bisa dibocorin gitu kan. Nah, ini sebenarnya adalah langkah perlindungan aset yang paling efektif. Tentu saja secara ROI atau return on investment seperti itu. Nah, mungkin kita di sini mungkin kita bisa kayak merenung gitu, kita step back gitu kan. Kita udah bergeser nih dari strategi reaktif yang mungkin bikin tim kita lelah gitu kan, lebih kepada strategi dari sisi data centric yang melindungi nilai inti bisnis gitu sih. Nah, jadi rekomendasi kita ya pasti untuk mengevaluasi dan konsiderasi lah untuk menggunakan anti data exploitation sebagai lapisan pertahanan kita seperti itu. Oke. Next, Pak. Ya, untuk mengenai shifting fokus gitu ya. Jadi adalah shifting atau pergeseran fokus. Jadi dari deteksi ke pencegahan hasil akhir gitu kan. Nah, mungkin kita Bapak dan Ibu gitu kan ya, kita udah ngeliat nih gimana perisai tradisional itu hancur gitu kan. Gimana tim kita juga kewalahan gitu ya dengan adanya tadi ribuan alarm misalnya. Jadi ada tool fatigue juga gitu, ada alarm fatigue gitu kan. Nah, jadi kita tuh dulu misalnya fokus pada deteksi. Jadi kita sebenarnya kayak orang main kejar-kejaran gitu loh, tapi nggak pernah dimenangkan gitu kan. Nah, jadi kalau untuk slide ini kita sebenarnya belajar bahwa kita harus berhenti fokus pada cara mereka masuk dan mungkin kita mulai fokus lebih agresif pada apa yang mereka inginkan, itu data. Jadi kita harus melindungi data kita dan memastikan data kita itu tidak keluar, sebenarnya seperti itu. Nah, jadi intinya ya untuk fokus mulai melihat ke anti-data exploitation sih. Jadi kita mau menghilangkan nilai ekonomi dari serangan cyber gitu kan. Jadi bukan sekedar perimeter lagi nih. Jadi kalau misalnya kita perhatiin ilustrasi di slide gitu ya. Jadi dari sisi perimeter defense itu mungkin udah retak, tapi kita juga membangun force field tepat di sekeliling data core gitu kan. Jadi ini adalah anti-data exploitation tadi gitu kan. Dimana cara kerja proaktifnya itu berbeda dengan EDR yang memberitahu kita misalnya secara pencurinya masuk ke rumah gitu kan. Nah, IDX ini bekerja seperti kunci otomatis pada berangkas yang mendeteksi setiap upaya pemindahan barang berharga keluar secara ilegal gitu kan, menghentikan segera. Jadi ini menghentikan data keluar gitu kan. Nah, solusi seperti black box itu bukan cuma sekedar alat keamanan tambahan. Jadi ini adalah alat khusus yang dirancang untuk tahap kritis gitu kan. Jadi black box ini membantu untuk memutus jalur komunikasi yang digunakan penyerang untuk mengirimkan data keluar gitu kan. gitu. Jadi poinnya ini ransomware ini bukan lagi ransomware nggak butuh enkripsi nih, tapi dengan anti-data-exfiltration, ancaman pemerasan itu sudah menjadi tidak relevan sebenarnya. Nah, ROI ini juga lebih nyata gitu kan, karena anti-data-exfiltration ini akan memberikan hasil yang lebih relevan, yaitu datanya itu tetap ada di dalam kita punya environment seperti itu. Terus juga dari sisi kepatuhan hukum atau undang-undang PDP atau GDPR gitu ya, dari kacamata regulasi kita lihat kebocoran itu terjadi pada saat data itu meninggalkan atau keluar dari kendali kita gitu. Jadi black box ini akan memastikan data tersebut tidak pernah meninggalkan dari organisasi seperti itu. Next slide, Pak. Nah, ini mengenai paradigma yang lama dan juga new approach gitu ya. Nah, jadi pertanyaan pentingnya kenapa sih kita harus berubah sekarang? Yaitu karena ada 2% denda dari Undang-Undang PDP juga gitu kan. Jadi kita udah nggak bisa lagi nih cuman deteksi aja. Jadi yang pertama itu, dimensi yang pertama ini kita kan fokus utamanya data itu versus infrastruktur gitu ya. Jadi selama ini kita fokus jagain rumah kita, tapi pertas modern itu tetap masuk tanpa merusak rumah gitu kan. Nah di sini black box itu fokusnya untuk menjaga isi berangkas kita nih. Jadi kita nggak peduli gimana cara mereka masuk. Jadi tugas kita sekarang adalah memastikan data itu nggak keluar dari jaringan kita. Nah di Indonesia kebocoran data berarti kan sanksi denda tadi 2% dari annual revenue itu besar loh. Nah jadi black box ini adalah cara termurah untuk menghindari denda tersebut. Nah, kemudian kita lihat dimensi 2 nih. Jadi dari sisi waktu gitu ya, proaktif sama reaktif gitu ya. Kalau dulu di tradisional sistem lama, kita kan kerja itu mulai setelah alarm bunyi gitu ya. Nah, tapi kan masalahnya setelah tim IT kita realize sadar gitu ya, data itu udah di post gitu di dark web. Jadi kita telat gitu kan. Nah, dengan adanya black box anti-data-exfiltration ini, ADX ini akan menghentikan tindakan eksploitasi secara proaktif gitu kan. Jadi nggak ada lagi waktu tunggu, nggak ada intervensi manusia yang lambat gitu kan. Jadi ada otomatisasi perlindungan aset secara real time seperti itu. Nah, kemudian dari sisi dimensi 3 gitu ya, jadi penyerang juga kayak kehilangan mereka punya leverage gitu kan. Nah jadi kita mungkin bisa membersihkan komputer yang terinfeksi gitu kan, tapi kan data pelanggan udah dicuri kalau misalnya kita lihat yang tradisional, cara yang lama yang tradisional gitu kan, jadi kita tetap kalah. Tapi kalau misalnya kita dengan pendekatan baru dengan black box ini, data kita kan tetap aman di dalam. Hacker penyerang itu pulang dengan tangan hampa, tanpa data mereka nggak punya lagi daya tawar untuk menyerang atau memeras perusahaan kita gitu kan. Jadi ada pembatalan resiko reputasi. Kemudian di sisi dimensi 4 ada beban tim, efisiensi gitu ya. Tim IT mungkin kadang understaff, mereka juga lelah, ada banyak notifikasi gitu ya. Jadi di black box ini kita juga menghilangkan kebisingan tersebut gitu. Jadi tim IT bisa fokus pada inovasi bisnis, sementara black box itu otomatis bekerja di latar belakang untuk mencegah hasil akhir yang fatal. Seperti itu sih. Next slide. Ya, untuk re-evaluate dari kita punya strategi gitu ya. Jadi kita poin pentingnya gini kita lihat, jadi aset yang paling berharga itu udah bukan kabel, bukan server, tapi kan data gitu kan. Jadi penyerang itu sebenarnya nggak peduli pada kita punya infra gitu kan. Jadi mereka itu cuma menggunakan sebagai jalan tol aja menuju kita punya data. Jadi kalau misalnya mereka nggak bisa bring data kita keluar, ya kita tetap menang gitu kan. Makanya strategi kita itu sekarang mulai fokus untuk nggak membiarkan truk yang mau ngangkut barang berharga dari kita punya perusahaan itu keluar gitu, supaya mereka gagal gitu kan. Jadi mungkin poin-poin penting yang kita dulu suka terlewatin mengenai resiliensi operasional, jadi integritas versus dari sisi kerahasiaan dan juga shadow IT crowd sprawl ini udah kita bantu untuk kita hilangkan seperti itu sih gitu. Nah, mungkin kalau misalnya kita lihat dari sisi perusahaan hari ini, saat ini kan sudah perusahaan sekarang itu mengalami ancaman baru cyber kriminal yang juga udah pakai AI gitu ya. Jadi serangan jadi lebih cepat, lebih otomatis, lebih personal, dan juga lebih sulit dideteksi oleh pendekatan dari sisi keamanan tradisional. Jadi banyak organisasi yang akhirnya menumpuk solusi keamanan yang berlapis-lapis, EDR, XDR, firewall gitu ya. DLP, SIM gitu ya, email security, VPN, NFC. Jadi banyak lah ada jenis lain juga gitu kan. Jadi vendor besar juga ya CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Sentinel-1 itu kan memang powerful gitu kan. Tapi di lapangan kita lihat bahwa semakin banyak layer ternyata ternyata nih semakin kompleks gitu kan. Jadi semakin banyak alert, semakin berat juga di endpoint-nya gitu kan. Nah, jadi responnya juga tetap terlambat karena serangan baru itu baru terdeteksi setelah aktivitas terjadi, bahkan setelah misalnya data yang bocor itu di-post di dark web misalnya. Nah, di era AI driven cyber attack ini pendekatan detect dan respon itu udah lagi nggak cukup gitu kan. Nah, disinilah sebenarnya poin black box itu menjadi penting dan relevan sebagai pendekatan modern cyber security karena fokus pada data exploitation prevention, anti ransomware, anti spyware, zero trust endpoint protection, AI based behavior protection, sama mencegah komunikasi keluar ke komen dan kontrol server sebelum datanya dicuri gitu kan. Jadi bukan hanya deteksi malware, tapi menghentikan pencurian data dan komunikasi berbahaya secara real time. Karena realitanya ransomware modern itu nggak langsung untuk encrypted data, tapi mereka mencuri data terlebih dahulu, terus menggunakan AI automation dan stealth communication gitu kan. Nah, pendekatan ini membuat black box itu berbeda sebenarnya dari model keamanan tradisional gitu kan, yang misalnya kalau dulu kan bergantung pada signature gitu ya, IOC rule atau analisa setelah terjadi insiden gitu kan, kita cari root cause-nya apa gitu ya. Nah, modern security sekarang itu jadi pertanyaannya itu bukan lagi berapa banyak tools yang dipasang, tapi sebenarnya pertanyaan yang kita harus step back adalah seberapa cepat menghentikan exploitation data gitu kan, seberapa kecil attack surface-nya, dan seberapa sederhana operational security teams kita untuk less noise, less complexity, dan juga untuk more prevention. Seperti itu sih, Pak. Makasih ya.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Kartika. Obviously, I sort of caught some of that, so that was good. I know there's a number of questions in the chat box which I've been attempting to translate and using Google Translate, so people can have a check on those. So yeah, Black Fog. As Kartika's brilliantly outlined, the old way of doing things isn't working. We're essentially in a global ransomware crisis. So that's why Black Fog was sort of brought into existence. We've been around for about 10 years, but with the ADX technology, probably 5-6 years. And now we have two forms of this technology, which basically ensure that you don't get hit by ransomware, because we prevent encryption and we prevent exfiltration. And then we also help you monitor your shadow AI. We've been doing some great work in here. We're market leaders, pioneers of ADX, anti-data-exfiltration. And the way we go about it is very different to how other people sort of approach ransomware. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, two big stats there. When I joined the business over 2 years ago, that number on the left was probably under 90%. So ransomware, when it started, was very much about encrypting data at rest and then sending a horrible letter saying, pay us $500,000, whatever, currency, and we'll unencrypt. Well, that isn't the case anymore. They want to own your data. So 96% of all ransomware involves some form of exfiltration. So what they're looking to do is get onto your devices and get that data off. They still can encrypt, so it's a double extortion. They're looking to monetize your data. So how can I get the most amount of money out of stealing your data? So if they encrypt it and steal it, then that's great, because then they can charge you to unencrypt, but also be selling your data on the dark web. And that's the product we call ADX Protect. So on the right-hand side, this is something that we started in December last year. And we were really on the front foot on this, because as you can probably all appreciate, the use of AI agents is just exploding. We've had the Siber research people, 83% of all employees are now using some form of AI agent. And if I was in charge of data at a business, that would be, I wouldn't sleep, because how do you know what your employees are putting up into those agents? Because we're all from, well, I assume a lot of us are from a cyber background, so we're a bit more clued up as to the types of information we're likely to put up into the agent. Whereas someone that doesn't have that appreciation, they just assume it's all safe. But as soon as you put the data up there, you've lost it. So they're either training their agent on your data, they're retaining your data. So it's absolutely massive. So yeah, they're two good stats to be looking at, and they're really the key areas in which we focus. Next slide, please. So if we're looking at ransomware, there's 5 key facts. This is working for these bad people. It's making more money than it ever has. And it's 4 times bigger than it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. So, that's huge. And they're not going to stop doing it because it's easy. They can sit in countries where there's no extradition. They can basically spray and pray, sending out all sorts of either phishing attacks or malware, and all that malware needs to do is to be downloaded onto the device, and then what needs to happen is for that to call back home. I like to put this in, if you recall the film E.T. many years ago, the little alien needed to phone home. So we're anti-ET. We stop malware from phoning home. And essentially, if it can't phone home, it can't encrypt and it can't exfiltrate. So you've got malware on a device which you could clean up, but you've never lost your data. You've never had it attacked or lost the integrity of the data. There are, I think it's nearer 200 specific ransomware groups, and they've all got their own way of going about their business. They've got tried and tested ways in which to breach your defenses. They know how to stay under certain amounts, so they're not recognized. They get in all sorts of different ways, and as soon as you block that way, they'll find another way. So that they're continuing to do this, and we actually monitor all of these groups on our console, which we'll show you shortly. The amounts of it's mind-blowing. The money, there's more money in ransomware than there is in the global drug trade, and so that gives you some idea of what's involved. And for me, the real standout here is the amount of data being exfiltrated. 1.4 terabytes, that's huge. And as I mentioned at the start of this is a global crisis. We're not just talking certain countries or people with great cybersecurity, no cybersecurity. They are indiscriminate. They just go out and they'll attack anyone to get the data. And we see that, especially in the UK, especially, we've got some small businesses in the Midlands, like manufacturing company that have been going 100 years, and then some ratbag that's based in North Russia decides to encrypt all their data and charge them 3 bitcoins, which is £300,000. So they can't afford that, so their business goes out. They're gone. So all of that, handed down from generation to generation, all wiped out from the actions of some bad person. So, it really is indiscriminate. Next one, please. So this really is focused on the movement from encryption as we all knew it back in the day was encryption only. It stayed on your endpoints, on your servers, but you couldn't get into it. You paid us some money and we let you back in, maybe. But nowadays it's not. It's sort of based on data exfiltration. The encryption is optional, so depending on what they're looking to do with the data. It's all extortion driven and 0-day attacks. So, there's a surge. It just keeps rising. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're up at 97, 98 by the end of the year, and with huge costs of these incidents. Next one, please. So it's a double-edged sword, cybersecurity and cybercrime, because as much as every vendor you talk to is using some form of AI, the bad people have been using AI for a long time. And if anything, we're paying catch up. There's AI-driven social engineering, the phishing, deep fakes, and even to an extent where they will have a ransomware malware that will start doing it in a certain way, and then halfway through it will change. So it mutates. So if you're relying on technologies that need to see something and it's acting that way, and so then it knows it's bad, if it changes, it thinks, oh, hold on, that's okay, we'll let that through. We don't, because we're totally focused on we're analyzing every packet of data attempting to leave an endpoint. We understand what created you, what processes you're using, have you hijacked some processes, where are you going to, and where are you actually going to? So we see the second hop because our DNS filtering is second to none. We had a total rewrite of that a couple of years ago. So we could actually see if someone's hijacked a data center in a good country, and then the next hop is going to maybe North Korea, chances are that isn't a good move for your data. Next. So, but it does. Cybersecurity is a journey. Phil and I have many conversations a day. And so there was a good comment we got once, and someone said, "Well, we've completed cybersecurity." And I said, "What?" But you can understand it. They'd invested in some market-leading tools, and they didn't understand why ADX was needed as well. Well, if you think about what's going on, if you look back over the years, I've been in this trade for 15 years. I started with email and web content filtering products, and that's, everything's moved on. We've got multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, SIEMs, SOARs, EDRs, XDRs, firewalls, all of this. So ADX is the next very sensible step to take for people that value their data. If you've got data, it will destroy your business by losing control of. You need to use ADX to protect that, because as good as EDRs and XDRs are at what they do, they don't focus on where we focus, on the back gate. And people say to us, why, we've got a market-leading EDR. I said, well, so did Jaguar Land Rover, so did Marks and Spencers, so did some of the biggest breaches we've seen in the world. They invest millions into their cybersecurity strategy, and they were still breached. What they weren't using was ADX. So that's where we really come into the fore. It's a new way of doing things, and it's a great approach. Oops. So ADX, we kind of assume the breach. You've got so many products on the front gate trying to stop people getting onto your devices, into your networks. So we kind of say, right, you've got enough tools there. We'll leave you to that, but people still get it. They'll find a way. What we're going to do is we're going to ensure no one leaves or communicates out of your organisation, off your endpoints that shouldn't be. So to be able to encrypt, they need to phone home. If they can't phone home, no encryption. To be able to steal, exfiltrate the data, they need to phone home. No phone home, no exfiltration. So that's really, we're on the front foot, and we're actually proactively, looking at every packet of data attempting to leave. And as I say, we've got hundreds of thousands of endpoints protected globally, and anyone running our agents or tiny client on their endpoint hasn't been breached. That's not something we go out into the press with, because then you start getting eyes on by some bad people. But that's what we sort of do for our customers. It's AI-driven behavioral intelligence, 30 layers. We can very quickly define what normal looks like on an endpoint, but then as soon as you deviate from that, no, stop. And we sit on the device. So that's where the bad people are. That's where they've deployed their malware. So we sit on there with them. You've got everything in our tiny client to protect that device. So even if it's offline, or it's been air gapped, or it can't, it hasn't got where other products need you to call up to the cloud to ask questions, we need none of that. All of the intelligence is on the endpoint. So that's key. And the other great thing is because we're looking at that transaction, that packet of data, you don't need to quarantine the device, because we will, from now until the end of time, we will continue to stop that bad packet of data leaving, so people can carry on working. And then at a point that's good for the business, you then clean that laptop up or that endpoint up. And it's really about the visibility. So one of the things we'll talk about is the exfiltration assessment that we offer. It's free of charge. It's a really useful tool for businesses to run. But we to coin a phrase, we clear the black book. We show you what's actually happening on your endpoints. So where you think everything's fine, you've got all these other products. If it's made it through to us, it's got past all of those. And the things we show people from running this assessment in training mode, so we don't disrupt your business, we don't get in the way, we will just show you over a 2-week period what we're seeing. And 9 times out of 10, people see things they don't want to unsee. Next, please. So it's all really about shifting fundamentals. It's modern cybersecurity. We're not saying that firewalls, EDRs, XDRs were wrong. They still serve a purpose. but what we are suggesting that is people need to look at ADX, because my true belief is if we could get ADX used in a form, on every large enterprise, you're going to negate ransomware. It physically cannot happen. If you've not got encryption or owning the data, you've got nothing to ransom people with. So then you've got another probably 100 other threats to go and sort, but you've taken ransomware off the books. So it's prevention first. So we stop it, we tell you about it. 2 calls at 4 o'clock in the morning, one with our product. Hi, boss. We had a ransomware attack. Don't worry. No data was encrypted. No data was lost. We're just going to raise some tickets to clean up these machines. The other call is a horror show. What data's gone? Is it encrypted? Has it been stolen? What's the ramifications reputation-wise? Are we going to be fined? Is it going to be the end of our business? That's a whole different ball game. So very different conversations. And there was a question in the chat about DLP. So because we only look at the headers, we can't tell you what's inside the packet of data. So if it was someone sending out a lot of credit card information to a good place, that's not for us, that's DLP. But what we will do is ensure that data isn't going to places where it shouldn't. So we're looking at the behavior of the endpoint, not the individual. So it can be sort of, there are boxes we tick when it comes to DLP, because DLP can be an arduous technology to deploy, and we've had it described as a dream for consultants because it's never ending. Whereas if you want to put something in and have it deployed in minutes, we can stop that data leaving and going to places that it shouldn't. Next, please.
Oke.
You go ahead, Ed. Yeah.
Ya, jadi black box ini, jadi black box ini, kalau kita lihat di gambar ini, diagram ini, yang lain ini tradisional, yang dibilang tradisional ini antivirus, EDR, SDR, termasuk firewall, DLP ini dibilang tradisional karena dia cuma mereka itu mencegah threat ini masuk ke device kita. Tapi termasuk siang ini cuma monitoring, kasih alert, tapi black box dia mencegah data itu keluarin seperti yang tadi bolak-balik dijelaskan. Nah, kita itu cuma simple sebenarnya. Kita cuma cek tujuan akhir IP DNS, tujuan akhir pengiriman data itu kemana. Kalau IP DNS-nya itu kotor, atau maksudnya kotor itu sering dipakai hacker untuk ngehack perusahaan lain, atau walaupun mereka pakai VPN atau Tor itu yang berlapis-lapis, VPN berlapis-lapis, pindah-pindah negara, itu pun tetap bisa dicek. Pokoknya black box simple. Dia cuma tanya, cek tujuan akhirnya kemana. Kalau itu tidak reputable, diblok. Ataupun itu kalau itu pun IP DNS-nya baru, karena hacker sekarang suka pakai domain atau itu baru, IP DNS baru. Nah, itu pun akan dimasukin suspek dan diblok juga sama black box. Tapi kalau kita tahu itu mungkin reputable tapi kena blok, kita nanti ada di konsol ada namanya allow list, kita bisa allow. Nah, black box ini ya seperti tadi saya bilang, dia cuma cek di level layer 3 network. Di network ini dia cuma cek IP DNS-nya, dan dia ini real time execution. Jadi waktu kita nanti mungkin ditunjukin file, waktu kita install agentnya black box, belum sempat login ke konsol, dia udah bisa ngeblok semua thread itu yang lagi threadnya itu hackernya lagi mencuri data, dan datanya kita itu lagi dicuri keluar gitu. Tapi waktu kita install agent langsung di stop saat itu juga, tanpa perlu login dulu untuk konsol, koordinasi sama konsol. Jadi kita memang agentnya cukup sakti. Ini dynamic rule set ini agent kita cukup sakti karena yaitu agent kita belajar terus pakai AI, pakai LLM, pakai machine learning. Jadi dia belajar terus agentnya itu. Kalau ada thread baru atau IP DNS ancaman baru, itu walaupun itu zero day attack, terus line of living, itu semua attack baru itu semua akan di stop sebelum. Jadi mereka belum sempat ngeluarin mencuri data, kalau kita udah install black box akan di stop. Dan konsol kita juga sudah dilengkapi dengan LLM. Nah, ini penghargaan Kemudian kita juga bisa install di semua OS, ini termasuk Windows Server, Linux on the way. Jadi kesimpulannya itu cyber security itu continuous process, bukan tujuan akhir. Jadi seperti dulu kita cuma ngerti internet security, antivirus. Nah, sekarang kita butuh multi layer. Jadi kita nggak bisa cuma ngadain EDR, SDR, firewall yang dibilang zaman dulu itu firewall itu zaman dulu. Nah, security untuk zaman dulu. Nah, sekarang kita butuh satu lagi layer namanya ADX ini. Jadi di ADX-nya Black Box ini beda sama ADX-nya DLP. Jadi kalau DLP itu dia cuma menyaring kata ada kalimat atau kata kayak 16 angka dijadiin x gitu. Nah, itu DLP. Tapi kalau Black Box ini simple, dia cuma nggak lihat isi datanya, dia nggak seperti DLP yang lihat isi data. Kita nggak lihat isi data, kita cukup cek IP DNS akhirnya itu kemana. Kalau IP DNS-nya itu kotor atau baru, kita stop dalam pencurian data itu. Jadi ya kita nggak bingung itu. Sebenarnya sebelum kalau device sudah kita install Black Box, encryption device kita tidak akan bisa di-encryption karena kita putus situ, kita push data communication-nya dengan hacker, terus kemudian ya ini tahun lalu punya persentase PPT 94%, sekarang udah 2025 ini sekarang udah 96%. Nah, demikian Pak Franky.
Ya, makasih Pak Edi. Thank you Paul and Kartika also. Yeah. So I saw some question already answered by Paul directly in the chat box. Yeah. So I think I will more focus.
Please excuse any grammatical errors. I'm desperately using Google Translate.
Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. I think some of the question already answered. Yeah. So I try to find out the question that hasn't been answered. Yeah, let's see.
If you do 841, I was just about to respond to that. So I think that one's about if an attacker already successfully infiltrated and is moving around the internal network, does ADX focus more on preventing data from escaping? That's absolutely spot on. We assume that you've got enough tools on the front to be looking after that, but as we all know, they continue to come in. So what we do, as opposed to trying to look at everything, we only focus on what's attempting to leave. Because essentially, if they're inside, as much as they can be annoying, you're not losing data and you're not getting encrypted. So you've got tools, and when we will see someone trying to exfiltrate, we will tell you on that machine there is something bad happening, you need to clean it. So we help you focus your attempts, but we're not, we assume that breach has happened and we're just making sure you don't, suffer an attack.
Yeah. So I think also the question from the IG, IG asking about whether the ADX can be implemented the existing infrastructure. As you know, I think some of the customer already have the antivirus, the ADR, so they can fit each other, or they must install one of them, also including the DLP.
Yeah, no, because we don't have APIs, we do what we do. So we stop encryption, we stop exfiltration, we tell you about it. We don't get in, we don't upset or get in the way of any other technology you've got deployed. So we work beautifully. So for example, if you're using maybe Microsoft Defender and us, that's a great way. We work, we do a lot of installs with Sentinel-1, with Sophos, we will work with any existing tech stack and add value to it because of the intelligence we get from the console. You can use that to update your other technologies. So it's a really great technology and deploys, like Phil, my colleague that's on the call, he deployed it onto my laptop within 5 minutes when I joined the business, and off we go. It's amazing.
Yeah. So it mean that the customer or the user need to install another agent for the Black Box or not?
Yes.
Yeah. So Phil, do you want to?
Yeah, so the word agent is tricky. It's more of a client. We don't have endpoint management capabilities. We are simply focused on the packets of data that are leaving the device. So to call it an agent is, but you do need to install software on the machine. It is an endpoint protection solution.
Okay. So I think one of the thing that now is quite different. Yeah, somehow that the attacker or the hacker they put something inside first in the network or the device, and they're waiting, right? They're waiting, and then you just monitor whether the packet will pass to the what do you call it, the Pak Edi, what do you call it, the detected DNS Pak Edi that has been considered as a
non-reputable DNS.
non-reputable DNS. So it means that if the packets or if the packet is not sent, it means that the black box will also don't know if some information already passed or not.
Yes.
What do you think, Pak?
Phil, do you want? Yeah, I'll shut up now. Go on, Phil.
So there's a couple of things that you said that. So first of all, you said that the hackers or the bad actors are in, but how did they get in the first place? So we are monitoring the packets information, and there has to be communication. They don't just there, you know what I mean? So what is it that, how do they communicate backwards and forwards? And this is what Paul said earlier, anti-ET software. Because they can't call home, the communication never starts. It's only one way. So then if they are trying to exfiltrate data out of the device, the other thing that Black Fog relies on is greed. It's the money. They're not going to, they want that data from you so they can extort you and make you pay money, right? So we're waiting for that communication to come back. And that's exactly what we're looking for. So if the packet of data, and then the other thing is that very first packet that leaves the machine, that's the one that triggers the reverse handshake. So the hackers don't get onto your device. Your device calls them, says, hey, I'm here now. And they go, all right. And that's when they come and then they start doing the thing. So we're blocking that communication all the time. Every packet of data that leaves the machine, that's what we focus on.
But also, Phil, the one that I heard before, there are some issue with the setup box. The setup box Android based, right? They use it somehow to put the botnet and put something in that device. Somehow that they use it as a media, to put something in your network. Is Black Fog also can detect this or not?
So we're absolutely not a network detection tool. We're an endpoint solution. So what you're seeing now is where people are installing these bots in the browsers of devices and applications, so that's what they're doing on the machine. So Black Fog fully understands we've got 30 something different layers of behavioral analysis on the endpoint. Now, when it leaves that endpoint and gets onto your network, or if your switches and things, that's a whole other story. And that's not what we do. We're 100% focused on the endpoints themselves. So your Windows laptops that are not behind your corporate firewall, your servers that are internet facing, your MacBooks, all the different devices that the human being is using, that's where Black Fog belongs.
How about if the customer already have the firewall, the next generation firewall? Whether
again, that's
absolutely and that's what Kartika was talking about earlier. It's the speed. In 2026, it's about speed. It's not about do I have this or do I have that. I might have a Fiat and you might have a Ferrari. I guarantee you'll get to your destination first because your Ferrari is much faster than my little Fiat. And that's how it works in 26. It's all about speed. And that's what Black Fog is focused on. Understanding the DNS. DNS is the cornerstone of the internet. You have to know that IP address is bad. You have to know if that domain is less than 60 minutes old, because they can spin up an AWS instance and steal your data in an hour. So it's all about speed, and that's where Black Fog comes in.
Yeah. So, Bu Kartika, I think you also see some question Black Fog bekerja dengan AI, machine learning, apakah ada minimal spesifikasi rekomendasi hardware-nya?
Nggak ada, Pak. Itu
Nggak
kita
ada, Pak.
hardware paling murah, paling kecil speknya bisa kita install, Pak.
Okay.
And the other thing to bear in mind, obviously, we want to be on the front foot. We want to protect customers before they're ever breached. But sometimes it takes some time and people need convincing. So even if a customer does get breached, we can come in and stop that from going any further. So what you've lost or had encrypted is gone. We're still working on our time machine. But what we will do is prevent any further progress of that attack. We will then also stop the second attack, because we see so many times what bad actors will do is leave a piece of malware just very quietly sniffing around and then what they'll do is go for the attack again, and that's happened on a number of the big breaches that we've seen recently. So, don't, just because you've been hit doesn't mean it's too late. Get us involved. We can roll out across. And again, as Phil and Katika has said, it buys you time, because if you're trying to recover from an attack, it's dreadful. People describe it as like suffering PTSD, like from wars and things. It's a dreadful situation to be in. But if you can get a product that buys you time, so no more bad's going to happen, we can now clean all this up and we're ready for the next attack. Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, there's another one question from Sharma Payne. Yeah, if the IP already listed on the WEF, who can detect the IP reputation, we still need the black box or not?
Again, it's down to speed, and our whole focus is on DNS. So we pick up the things we have our own data lake. We subscribe to organizations that specialize in DNS, and again, I see it all the time. The IP address of the attack today is not the same as the IP address of the attack tomorrow.
Yeah.
60 minutes. That's how quickly it changes. It's crazy. So yeah, all these unsupported cloud regions around the world, using a variety of different techniques to disguise the malicious traffic. It's having a proper DNS tool is critical. Having a proper DNS tool on your users' endpoints is critical in 26, because the other thing to remember is that the bad guys, to get into the heart of your data center, to your most important servers, to do a brute force attack is very complicated. So what they like to do is phishing attacks, and they'll get all the people that are outside the business, people working from home, people in coffee shops, hotels, airports. Those are the ones that are vulnerable because they're on their machines and they're not behind the corporate firewall. You connect to a Wi-Fi, you're looking at the news, the guys jump on your machine, they wait for you to get to the office, they plug the machine in, now they're inside. So having a tool on the endpoint is so important.
And also, if you think about what we're doing, we're looking at the behavior of that IP. So it doesn't matter what it's called, whether it's on a list, off a list, whether I've literally just created it, because we're looking at the behavior, we will block it. We don't need to see a list. We don't, because we're understanding what it's doing in real time, where it's hosted, how long has it been in existence, all that sort of information.
Yeah. Okay, what another question that we haven't been discussed? I think most of the question already answered, not one by one, but I think all the ideas and all the questions have been discussed. Yeah. Okay, any other question you want to ask directly to the speakers? Yeah. Ada yang mau bertanya langsung ke speaker atau ke ini boleh, silakan. Nanti ada Pak Edi, ada Pak Bu Kartika juga bahasa Indonesia bisa bantu. Ini tadi banyak pertanyaannya terkait dengan the existing environment ini ya, Pak Edi ya sama Bu Kartika ya, itu yang paling jadi concern. Karena takutnya gini ya, ada yang sudah pasang antivirus, pasang apalagi DLP, terus sekarang pasang lagi black box nih, Pak Edi.
Ya, memang jadi kita tidak akan ada konflik sama yang sekarang udah dipakai firewall lah, EDR, DLP atau apa, karena kita sangat enteng dan kita tidak pakai database signature. Kita tidak, kenapa enteng, yaitu kita tidak pakai database signature, kita cuma punya yaitu kita behavior pakai AI, pakai behavior itu. Jadi kita cuma cegat IP DNS yang tidak reputable. Jadi sangat enteng itu. Terus kita selalu update lah, dan agent kita tidak akan tabrakan atau konflik sama agent lain, EDR atau yang lain, karena kita tujuannya beda. Nah itu.
Ya. Oke. Oke, ada lagi pertanyaan teman-teman? Kalau tidak ada, kita akan masuk ke sesi foto. Setelah itu, we will want to hear you the closing remark after the photo session, and we will announce the three questioners who can get the vouchers Okay, now we go to the photo session. I think all of us can open the camera. Silakan teman-teman semua bisa tampilkan kameranya ya. Nah, ini ambil semua untuk bisa kita taking foto together ya. So Paul and Phil, you are based in UK or what?
Yes, in the UK, but we're always working. We have good relationships right across anything outside of North America. Phil and I look after. So we go from the UK through Europe, down to South Africa, into the Middle East, out to Indonesia, Fiji, APAC, Melbourne. So yeah, we're all over.
24/7. Okay, all of them already tampil, Mak, gitu ya. Kalau sudah bisa difoto dulu.
Oke, sudah Pak, sudah. Oke, sebentar.
Ya.
1, 2, 3. Oke, sebentar. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Oke, sudah Pak.
Okay, I think we want to hear the closing remark first from Paul.
Great. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to speak to you all. I think we've had about 87 people on here, so that's phenomenal. That goes as my number one webinar. So thank you very much. But yeah, please, we're here to help you. That wasn't me. We're here to help you and your customers prevent yourselves getting hit by ransomware. So please utilize us. Speak to obviously Eddie and Katika, and we can help run exfiltration assessments. But ideally, you just want to buy it.
Okay, good. Next, Phil.
Yes, so I just wanted to highlight again how straightforward BlackFog is to use, and how important it is to have a behavioral analysis tool on an endpoint that's protecting your users that are out there in the wild.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Bu Kartika, silakan.
Oh ya, mungkin kalau dari saya, ya kita realize ya bahwa dengan lapisan yang kita punya ternyata tetap ada kebocoran data kan. Nah makanya ini yang kita harus bantu dengan adanya Anti-Data-Exfiltration ini sih. Nah kalau misalnya ada pertanyaan nanti bisa reach out ke kita semua. Makasih loh Pak Franky sama tim Apliktas dan rekan-rekan semua.
Oke, terakhir silakan Pak Edi.
Ya, kalau kita tahu beberapa waktu ini hacker itu nyerbu multi-finance kita, termasuk BNI itu percaya deh. Sekarang ini modern cyber security kurang satu layer, yaitu ADX dari BlackFog ini. Tanpa itu tetap aja kebocoran pencurian data akan terus terjadi.
Ya. Oke. Thank you Pak Edi, Bu Kartika, Paul, and Phil for the session. I think most of us will already get some new insight that we need to add another security layers in our endpoint to make sure that our data is safe. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights. Thank you Pak Edi, Bu Kartika.
Terima kasih.
Saya hand over dulu ke Mbak Nurma untuk membacakan 3 orang yang akan mendapatkan voucher pertanyaan Silakan.
Baik.
Oke, baik. Terima kasih Bapak sudah memoderatori. Thank you Paul, Pak Edi, Ibu Kartika dan baik, saya akan mengumumkan tiga orang terpilih pemenang voucher OVO. Yang pertama itu ada Pak Sharma. Ada Pak Sharma? Pak Sharma.
Apa Ibu itu Sharma?
Pak Sharma Pane atau Ibu?
Hadir, oke.
Selamat ya. Yang kedua Pak Asep Eka, ada Pak Asep Eka?
Hadir Bu, hadir.
Selamat ya Pak Asep. Dan
Ya,
yang
terima kasih.
terakhir Pak Wahid Rudyanto, ada Pak Wahid Rudyanto? Pak Wahid.
Hadir Bu.
Selamat ya Pak Wahid. Selamat kepada tiga orang terpilih pemenang voucher OVO. Nanti akan kami hubungi setelah acara ini selesai. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu atas partisipasinya dalam online workshop siang kali ini. Thank you Pak Pangki, terima kasih Pak Edi, terima kasih Bu Kartika, thank you Philip and Paul. Sampai bertemu di online workshop kita selanjutnya. Sampai jumpa dan terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Ya.
Thank you Pak Edi, Bu Kartika.
Terima kasih ya.
Paul.
Terima kasih semua.
Thank you Paul, thank you Phil. Ya.